Interested in investigation and security? Whether you are already a professional or you are in the beginning stages, take all of your classes at the National Investigative Training Academy. Choose from over 200 courses, all written and taught by experts in the field. The National Investigative Training Academy, or NITA, has offered high-level investigative and security training for over 12 years. Like live classes, NITA has those too. Sign up today for private investigation and security courses and use brand ambassador code B as in boy, A as in Adam, 2367. Take a look at investigativeacademy.com. You'll find the link in our show notes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the most wonderful podcast of the year and the most wonderful time of the year. This is Crossing the Tape, and as always, I'm Brendan, joined by my co-host,
Hillary.
And today we've got a bit of a Christmas caper, if you will.
Yes, it's quite something.
And it's old, so that's fun.
We like our old cases, you know.
Yes. So please sign the crime scene log and join us for the Santa Claus bank robbery.
Yes. Is there really such a thing as a bad Santa? We always, we've heard about that movie that, I've never seen that thing because I just don't care. But is there really such a thing as a bad Santa? Maybe. At least there was in the year 1927. On December 23, 1927, the First National Bank in Cisco, Texas was held up. Behind the armed robbery were the players Marshall Ratliff, Robert Hill, Henry Helms, and Lewis Davis. But let's take a look at each man prior to this Santa Claus heist. Marshall Ratliff, the brains behind it all, was a criminal who had lived in the town of Cisco. He was found and imprisoned for some crimes he had committed previously, and originally he was supposed to have an 18-year prison sentence, which was a lot for any time.
18 years is pretty good time.
That's
serious business.
Right. So without committing a murder, that's still pretty serious of a sentence. However, the governor, Miriam or Ma Ferguson, let him out. Ma Ferguson served 2 terms as the governor of Texas, and though this was quite unheard of at the time, her campaign pushed that her husband would be assisting her, so the state would be getting a 2-for-1 governor, which I thought was kind of clever.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that is strange for especially that era, having a female governor.
Right.
But she I hate to say it, but she probably got it because she pushed her husband in it too.
She leaned into,
right,
I'm going to let my husband do the heavy lifting.
Apparently, though, this governor, Ma Ferguson, had pardoned criminals, and there was the instances that I came across that said there were like 3,595 people she'd pardoned people.
That's a lot of pardon.
It arose quite a suspicion, and I don't believe there was anything ever founded on it.
Why on earth she would...
It makes me think she was getting paybacks,
Yeah.
I don't know.
She was just a very sympathetic woman who thought it was unfair for Marshall Ratliff to serve his 18 years.
Anyway. I would be the opposite. I would be a little bit...
25.
So I couldn't find anything else about,
why she's doing
right.
that.
And I didn't want to get too down that rabbit hole because we're not here to talk about her. But I did find that interesting.
Yeah.
So back to Ratliff. He knew he wanted to rob the First National Bank in Cisco when he was pardoned from his prison sentence. Mm-hmm. So immediately...
Well, he had time to think in there.
Right. But I think he pretty much planned it while he was in prison. But he also knew he would be recognized because he's from there. And it's a small town. You can look up the bank online. It's a little bitty... It almost looks like it was a grocery store at one time, too. Little bitty building. So he thought the best way to disguise himself would be to borrow a Santa suit. And this was from a lady who ran a boarding house and he was staying there. So apparently he asked her if he could borrow her Santa Claus suit. Like that wouldn't be conspicuous or anything.
I need it for charity work.
Well, and we'll get into it, with the rest of the players that helped him with this heist. But nobody else had a disguise. So I think that's kind of weird.
But if they're not local...
That's true.
They wouldn't be worried about being recognized like he would.
Yeah, but it seems like you'd want everybody disguised, because if you saw them all together, they're going to start putting the pieces together, but that's just me.
He probably figured everybody's eyes would be on Santa Claus.
They were, actually. We'll get to that. So next we have Louis Davis. The only reason he was brought into this was because he was a cousin of one of the other robbers. Unfortunately for him, he would later pay the ultimate price for his role in the heist. Originally, Ratliff wanted to use his brother in the job, but he had already been thrown back in jail for another crime. The other two men were recruited were Henry Helms and Robert Hill. We really don't know much about the other men other than they were part of Ratliff's bank robbery group, and that Louis Davis was cousin to Henry Helms. I tried to find more information, and everything just led me back to this incident.
So these other two guys were small potatoes.
Yeah, because I was trying to find a little bit on everybody, but I couldn't. Everything I found just reverted back to this particular robbery. Everyone in this group had a criminal past and considered themselves to be professionals, or so they thought.
Right, according to them.
Yeah. Before the big heist, they had begun robbing other banks in the area. And, what I read was it was like a couple weeks out, and just bank after bank after bank. And it created such a panic that the Texas Bankers Association decided to offer a $5,000 reward to anyone who shot a bank robber during the crime. So not only is that prize a ridiculous number, it's $90,000 in today's money.
Yeah.
But they're basically saying, hey, if you see a robber in a bank and you shoot them...
Smoke them will give you 90 G's.
Right. So that's insane.
Yeah, that's...
I
can't imagine.
That's chaos.
Yeah, that's really... Well, then you could just kill whoever you want.
Yeah.
And say, well, he was robbing a bank.
Right. And back then, there weren't surveillance cameras. So
you just lure a guy to a bank and shoot him in the face. Put a gun in his hand and say, I did it.
It's crazy.
It's a license to kill whoever you want. And get paid for it.
Yeah, it's nuts. So this era, some of the most, this is the era of some of the most prolific criminals. The 20s, late 20s, Prohibition era, we have gangsters, mobsters all over the country. And this is how they decide to handle it?
Yeah.
So it seems like authorities would recognize that this kind of reward would create havoc and chaos.
Yeah.
And it might actually escalate violence, which many sources said, it probably escalated everything.
Yeah.
Because, just at that time, not this particular incident. Because, that's an insane amount of money.
We will pay you to kill someone.
Right.
If they're an enemy of ours.
It's an insane amount of money. It's an insane request.
Mm-hmm. Right. And there's no legal authority behind it. It's
the bank association.
Just the bankers saying, we will pay you.
Right. So it's very strange. But
I imagine they were just hoping that would be a deterrent for bank robbers.
I think so.
There's going to be people, nobody's going to go quietly because they're going to want to make them the money for taking us out.
Well, that's what they thought. So alas, this was the reward in the state of Texas at that time. And like you said, it could have been maybe a deterrent, or that was what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So the big day came, and Ratliff donned his Santa suit, even the beard. And he was left off a few blocks from the bank and decided to walk down the sidewalk towards his target. But as he was walking, he was followed by children who were interested in speaking with Santa Claus and wanted to talk to Santa and enamored with Santa. So it was reported that he was approached several times, but he'd just act like the kids weren't there. Just kept on walking, which that would be strange too.
Right.
It seems again that it would draw unnecessary attention to himself. Mm-hmm. But the whole get-up would really, I think.
Yeah, but it is December 23rd.
True.
It's not too outside the realm to see someone in a Santa suit, but ignoring the kids and just walking down the street.
But I don't think in that era they had Santa at a popular place so that you could, have your picture taken with Santa or anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there were really like, mall Santa type things that...
Yeah.
There's going to be, a photo op meet and greet with Santa kind of thing at the park or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's just say we will learn that these guys were not very smart, and they weren't as professional as they thought, and they were highly unobservant. But first, let's hear a word from Taction USA.
Taction USA is your go-to source for crime scene and evidence collection supplies. Taction USA offers quality products all designed and tested by active duty first responders and investigators. With no minimum order, you can order as much or as little as you need. Ordering is fast with no hassle attached. Check out TactionUSA.com today and find the quality and quantity you need when it comes to crime scene and evidence collection supplies. That's TactionUSA.com, or look for the link in our show notes and Facebook posts.
Entering the bank, they all drew firearms. These were turned on both bank employees and patrons that were in the building. They forced one of the tellers to open the vault and began shoving money into bags.
Nice. Classic. Easy bank robbery.
Which kind of made me laugh because I'm thinking of Santa with a big sack,
That's part of the disguise.
Right.
How can you get away with a big bag walking around?
I know. They thought they had it made until a lady named Mrs. Blassingame entered, which, I know, that was her name, entered the bank with her daughter, who was only 6 years old. She immediately realized what was happening and left screaming, running to the police department. And so she didn't care. Like, the research I did, the robbers were like, shh, and trying...
Hey, keep quiet.
Turning guns on her. She didn't give a crap about it.
Screaming down the street.
Right. So her screams caught the attention of the chief of police. And despite the possible hiccup, the robbers did continue on with their plan, filling their sacks full of money, thinking they could still get out of this. So she went screaming to the police department. The police chief heard. He started recruiting other officers to come help. Finally, Marshal Ratliff led the way out of the vault, but he was stopped in his tracks as he realized now law enforcement was involved.
Yeah.
He fired a shot, and there was a gunfire exchange. He shot both at police and into the ceiling several times, which I thought was also stupid, could hit him.
Well, he's firing into the ceiling. Dude, if there's already a firefight on, nobody's interested in a warning shot.
Right.
It's too late. You fire one into the ceiling to get everyone to listen up and quiet down at the start of the robbery, not when the cops are firing at you.
So
shoot this ceiling, I swear to God.
I know. So I thought, again, kind of shows that they weren't the brightest. So thinking they were stuck, the men began to take hostages because they thought that would be better, forcing customers inside the bank to go outside and walk towards the robbers' vehicles. So when I picture that, I just picture the robbers and all their money.
Santa suit.
Yeah, and like this big group walking down the sidewalk. Fortunately, during this trek to the car, most of the bank customers escaped, which I'm like, depending on how many there were, I mean, there's, several men, and I believe they all had firearms, but I could never find out if every single robber had a firearm or if maybe only a few of them did.
Yeah.
But you're in an open space. I'm sure, there's alleyways everywhere. I'm sure more, it would be easy. I mean, unless you're right in front of the guy with the gun.
Yeah. You
could probably get away.
I think it's fun that they probably told everyone, all right, single file outside, march to the car, and as soon as they get outside,
there's people
most
running.
Of them just split.
It seems kind of strange that no one stopped and tried to overtake them. Like no one else at the bank had a gun, especially given that reward, the reward status. And it's Texas.
Right, somebody would fire a few rounds other than just the officers.
So I kind of thought that was strange, but maybe at the time the only people in the bank were women and children or something, which it did seem there were a lot of adolescents around and a lot of women.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the reason.
Well, yeah, it's got to be on school break at this point.
Yeah. So, however, the robbers then took 2 young girls as hostages. So I think they kind of let everybody else scatter. But managed
they couldn't corral everyone.
Right. But managed to grab 2 as hostages. And then this began the descent into a very botched robbery job.
As if it wasn't bad enough already.
Right. So, we will talk about that on our next episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll hear more about Santa and his brand new bag.
Yeah.
Next time around. And taking a little peek, it doesn't get much better.
No, it doesn't. Trust me.
Things don't really turn around for the Santa heist crew.
No, but what is interesting, it was one of the largest manhunts in Texas history.
Yeah. Well, there's $5,000 for anybody who takes care of these people.
Yeah, but it was a manhunt, even, law enforcement. And we'll discuss it next time. They really brought in...
They weren't going to let these guys go.
No, they really brought in, big resources.
Mm-hmm. So, we will see you again next time, and you will hear us, but we can see you when you're sleeping.
All right, that's enough.
All right.
Please sign the crime scene log on your way out.
And join us again. Thanks for listening, and so long.
Stay safe.
511 has collaborated with the best of the best tactical teams around to develop their VXI product line. This collaboration has resulted in top-of-the-line gear for not only SWAT operators, but all first responders, outdoorsmen, hunters, and anyone who will only accept the best gear available. I had a chance to try out the new Sigurd shirt. Not only does it look great, but it feels great as well. The Sigurd shirt features 511's CryoTac technology, guaranteeing you'll stay dry and cool. The Sigurd shirt can be worn comfortably under a plate carrier, or on its own as a classy look at your next barbecue. This collared shirt won't be out of place at the shooting range or the golf course, ensuring you'll feel comfortable in any setting. Get your Sigurd shirt from 511 Tactical today.